With Venmo Stash, a taco in one hand and ordering a ride in the other means you're stacking cash back. Nice. Get up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash on your favorite brands when you pay with your Venmo debit card. From takeout to rideshares, entertainment and more, pick a bundle with your go-tos and start earning cash back at those brands. Earn more cash when you do more with Stash. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 cash back per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms.
When it comes to gifting, everyone on your list deserves something special. Luckily, Marshall's buyers travel far and wide, hustling for great deals on amazing gifts so you don't have to. That means your mom gets that cashmere sweater, your best friend, that Italian leather bag, your coworkers unwrap their favorite beauty brands, and your nephews, the coolest new toys. Go ahead. At prices this good, you can grab something for yourself, too. Marshalls. We get the deals, you gift the good stuff. Shop now at marshalls.com or find a store near you.
Oh, Mike, listen to these 5-star reviews. I can't believe I got my order so fast. Easiest exchange ever. A loyal customer for life. In the last 2 months, our reviews are better than ever.
That's because we leveled up our fulfillment process by switching to ShipStation. They're way more comprehensive than other solutions, and we save up to 90% off all major carriers.
Ugh, best upgrade ever.
Upgrade to ShipStation today to get a 60-day free trial at ShipStation.com, code AUDIO.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Hello, I'm here during the lunch rush with Janice, who owns her own food truck.
Best cheesesteaks in town.
Janice traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for her food truck business. We're here where she needs us most.
They sure are.
We make it so easy for her to save, with customised coverage that grows with her business. Sorry, I just get so emotional talking about saving folks money.
Not this onion I'm chopping?
It's just so beautiful. Oh yeah, no, it's the onion.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
This is True Crime Cast. Jamie, joined as always by John. You're turning my volume down already.
No. It's not your volume. It's my overall volume in my ears. A little loud. Okay. I think my hearing aids are turned up too high, and they're under headphones. So
you have speakers inside of speakers.
I do.
It's got to be weird.
It's a redundancy.
It is.
Yeah.
But you can hear me, so it works.
Yeah, but I had to turn you down.
Okay, I get it. No offense taken. Guys, we appreciate you joining us for another episode today. This is a case that I remembered from when it happened, and I, for better or worse, associated with some other crimes potential crimes, I should say, from other NFL guys like Ray Lewis. We covered that case, and this was kind of in the same time frame. So
help me remember what Ray Lewis did, because I'm drawing a blank right now. Was it murder?
He was accused of it. Yeah, there was somebody that was killed, and possibly in his presence, and possibly he had something to do with it, but he was obviously not found guilty and went on to win a Super Bowl after that. So
I was going to say, I don't remember him ever not being in a game because of being in jail. So
no, so the real winners are NFL fans.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, take away all the off-field issues. Ray Lewis was a complete monster on the field. I remember.
I think he can leave off the field issues and still kind of a monster.
Yeah, he was just a beast. And do you remember Troy Polamalu? I think that's probably not how you say his name.
Polamalu.
Yeah, but man, he was a monster too. Big linebacker guy, you know?
Palomalu was a safety.
Was he?
Yeah.
God, he looked like a linebacker.
I don't know. It was mostly about his hair for me because I'm bald. Anyway, today is going to be...
He was legit a safety. That's incredible. I thought he was a linebacker. He is the most jacked safety I've ever seen.
Okay.
All right, man. Sorry. Football.
Yeah, I don't know how we got there, but let's wind our way back to the late 90s. John, why don't you get us rolling?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Ray Lamar Wiggins, who was born in California, but that's not how, like, most people remember his name, right? What did he change his name to?
It was Rae Carruth.
Rae Carruth.
Really not sure why he changed it. I actually couldn't find that in my research.
So Ray was born in California. He was a standout wide receiver at the University of Colorado, which was before Deion Sanders' time. This was when Deion Sanders was playing for the Cowboys, I presume. But scouts described him as explosive, fluid. He was a natural route runner. In 1997, he was drafted in the first round, which is incredible. He was drafted 27th overall by the Carolina Panthers. And for a moment, he looked every bit like he was going to be the future star of the franchise. But off the field, he was having some issues. Life was complicated. He had already had a child from a previous relationship, a child he supported inconsistently, and he made good money as an NFL player. But between injuries and personal spending, he was under pressure. By 1999, his contract was nearing its end. That was his rookie contract, and his financial security was far from guaranteed. And that's where Cherica Adams comes in. She was 24 years old. She was a real estate agent, a model, a woman described by everyone who knew her as bright, driven, and endlessly kind. And she met Ray at a nightclub, and their relationship wasn't serious, but it was ongoing. When she became pregnant, people close to her had hoped that Ray would be a part of the baby's life. But those close to Ray said that he did not react well to the news. He had been concerned about money and concerned about the potential pay in child support and concerned that another child would jeopardize his career options, especially if he didn't end up re-signing in Carolina. However, none of that would excuse anything that happened, and as far as what we're about to talk about, it's absolutely inexcusable, but it may help explain the mindset that prosecutors would later argue that led Ray down such a devastating road.
Yeah, and I mean, we think about professional athletes as having it all. They have fame and fortune. I forget the percentage, but the percentage of professional athletes that end up filing bankruptcy or running out of money is so high. I know
it's like a lottery winner.
Yeah, I know the leagues do a better job now of educating people on how to plan for the future and do business, but that's not always been the case. So a lot of them, they get that rookie contract, they spend it all, and then they don't know what to do. And
we're seeing that with NIL. Like, you're giving young people whose brains legitimately are not fully developed, and you're giving them an astronomical amount of money. And, you know, what's cool? A Ferrari and, a couple Lambos in the garage, or a pension and retirement funds. You know?
Yeah, no, it's certainly a problem, and that's how Ray found himself here. So this is so far not an uncommon story or an uncommon scenario. Lots of young athletes find themselves in this position. But what pushes this from kind of a tough situation into criminal activity is what surfaced later on. Now, Carruth had allegedly been making threats. He was really frustrated about this pregnancy, but she wanted to have a baby. And this led Carruth to a conversation with a guy named Van Brett Watkins. Watkins was a known criminal. He was described by himself as a hitman, somebody whose reputation alone made people uneasy. He was very violent and apparently violent for hire. When we eventually get to trial, the prosecution would argue that Carruth, who was desperate not to have to pay child support and to have his life further complicated by another child, allegedly approached Watkins about making the quote-unquote problem go away. Now, whether that conversation started months before the incident in question or whether it came together at the last moment, both sides debated that what matters the most is what happened on the date of November 16th, 1999.
All right. So on that night, Carruth and Cherica went to the movies together. The film that they saw was The Matrix, little known film. Jamie, I'm sure you're familiar.
So good.
I don't know that I've seen it as an adult. I need to go back and watch that one. So they saw this in Charlotte. They were at a Charlotte theater. They drove separately, and Carruth got in his car afterwards. Of course, Cherica got in hers as well, and they each pulled out going their own ways. So Cherica pulled out going down the dark roads of South Charlotte and was heading towards her place. What Cherica did not know was that Rae was not alone. So behind them, following at a distance, was another vehicle, a car carrying Watkins and Michael Kennedy, another man involved in this plot. And according to later testimony, Rae Carruth slowed his car and maneuvered in front of Cherica. And as he did, the second car pulled up alongside her. And inside it, Watkins fired multiple shots into Cherica's vehicle. Cherica panicked, and she had been shot. She was bleeding, but somehow she managed to call 911. Her voice was shaky and barely audible, but the call became the heart of this case. She told the dispatcher that Rae Carruth had slowed down, blocking her path, and trapped her for an ambush. And she described him as being ahead of her at the moment the shots were fired. So that call, that incredibly heartbreaking call, would later be played in court, and it changed everything.
911, Baker, you need police, fire, or medic?
Police, I've been shot.
You've been shot? Where are you at, man? Listen to me, you're on a wireless phone. I don't know where you are, so tell me where you are, man. Where are you at?
At that Calvary Church.
Calvary Church?
Left side, kept straight.
You're where? Ma'am,
Rae Road.
You're on Rae Road. Where at on Rae Road, ma'am? Ma'am, talk to me. Where are you at on Rae Road?
I don't know.
Okay, are you near Calvary Church?
I passed it on the left, and I kept straight.
Okay, ma'am, you got to help me to help yourself. Where are you at?
McAndrew, Lexus Square, Community. I'm in front of it.
McAndrew? Okay, listen to me. McAndrew? You said McAndrew Square? Ma'am, listen to me. McAndrew Square? Listen to me, ma'am. You're on Rae Road.
Square, Community.
Okay, tell me one more time.
WESXEX. WESXEX Square.
You're at Wessex Square.
Yes.
Okay, where are you shot at, ma'am?
I don't know. I was driving.
You were driving and someone shot you?
Yes.
Did you see the person that shot you?
I'm 8 months pregnant.
Okay, ma'am, you're 8 months pregnant. You've been shot. You're at Wessex Square.
Community.
Okay, ma'am, I'm going to connect you to medic. Continue to talk to them because, ma'am, we have to help you. We have to find out where you are. Stay with me on the line. Ma'am, stay with me. Stay with me. Keep talking to me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Medic, she's been shot. She's pregnant. All I can get out of her is Wessex Square.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, that was tough. You could hear just the pain she was in. It sounded like maybe she was hit in a lung because she was really struggling to breathe.
Yeah, it's certainly heartbreaking just to hear that, and I don't know. It's well, it certainly feels that way. It's also, I don't know, her bravery is she had the presence of mind to give like a location, and she was able to fight through that pain. And I have to think a lot of that motivation was for her baby because she
kept saying that she was 8 months pregnant,
and that did seem to add some urgency to the call, which I don't know if it should have or not. But.
Yeah, man, that is a job I just could not do. I'm like built to help. And so to just be trapped on a phone call and not physically able to do anything would be agonizing. So my heart goes out to the dispatchers as well. So they finally found Cherica, and she was rushed to the hospital. Doctors had to perform an emergency C-section to deliver her baby boy, Chancellor Lee Adams. He was fragile, but he was still alive. Cherica would fight for days, and then that turned into weeks. She wrote notes to detectives identifying Carruth again and again as the man who orchestrated her attack, but the damage to her body was too severe, and on December 14th, 1999, Cherica passed away from her injuries. Her final words were on paper, and they were saved by investigators, and they became the voice of a woman who refused to let her murder be anonymous. And as Cherica lay on the hospital fighting for her life, Rae Carruth disappeared.
Yeah, and like I said, her bravery obviously led to it being solved. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to save her own life, but it did give her family something to go with and some hope. When she passed away, Carruth's bond that he had been out on was revoked, meaning that he was required to come in and surrender, or else they would put out a warrant for him, which they did, because like you said, he vanished. It was one of the most dramatic manhunts in recent memory, especially somebody as high profile as an NFL star. 4 days later, he was found in Tennessee, hiding in the trunk of a car, along with money, water, and a cell phone. Police said the trunk was freezing. Carruth was curled up in the fetal position. He wasn't armed. When they found him, he didn't resist, but he looked, as one officer put it, utterly defeated. Now that sounds like he looked bad. I don't know what word they could have used there that would make me say, good, I'm glad he felt that way, but utterly defeated is not enough, first of all. Back in North Carolina, prosecutors were getting their stuff together to place formal charges, and they charged him with conspiracy to commit murder, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and using an instrument to destroy an unborn child. His co-conspirators, Watkins Kennedy and another man named Stanley Abraham, were also arrested. Watkins would eventually testify against Carruth, taking a deal saying that Carruth hired him because he didn't want to pay child support, which seems to be backed up by pretty much all this. His testimony was blunt, disturbing, and according to jurors, it was completely convincing because he was in the midst of this conspiracy to kill Cherica. When we get back from the break, we'll talk about the media swarm that came about because of this case, the bright lights on it, and what happened to Rae Carruth.
When it comes to gifting, everyone on your list deserves something special. Luckily, Marshall's buyers travel far and wide, hustling for great deals on amazing gifts so you don't have to. That means your mom gets that cashmere sweater, your best friend, that Italian leather bag, your coworkers unwrap their favorite beauty brands, and your nephews, the coolest new toys. Go ahead. At prices this good, you can grab something for yourself, too. Marshalls. We get the deals, you gift the good stuff. Shop now at marshalls.com or find a store near you.
Oh, hey, Mike, we just got another 5-star review. I can't believe I got my order so fast.
Oh, nice.
Oh, here's another one. Easiest exchange ever. Loyal customer for life.
Now that's what I'm talking about, boss.
Mike, we've gotten more rave reviews in the last 2 months than we ever have. What are we doing differently?
Well, our order fulfillment needed an upgrade, so I've been trying out ShipStation with their 60-day free trial.
Well, with reviews like these, I'm sold.
Me too. ShipStation automates everything all in one place. They're way more comprehensive than the other solutions I was considering.
Oh, look at this. Our spend went down too.
Oh, that's because ShipStation's rate browser compares over 200 carriers to ensure we get the best rates, up to 90% off.
Nice work. We needed this upgrade with how fast we're growing.
Upgrade to ShipStation today and get a 60-day free trial with unlimited access to all features at ShipStation.com with code AUDIO.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to TalkSpace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at TalkSpace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at TalkSpace.com.
With Rae being a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft, you could imagine the media coverage that was, covering this case. It was intense. So cameras swarmed the courthouse during, his trial. But the NFL quickly distanced itself from Rae Carruth. They cut him from the Panthers, and they let the investigation take place without him being on the team. But the case wasn't just high profile for sports fans and athletics, but it also became a landmark legal case because of something interesting. So Cherica's statements, both her written notes and the audio from the 911 call, were, kind of in question as to whether or not they would be allowed in court. Defense attorneys argued that since Cherica could not be cross-examined, then the statements that she made should not be admitted. But the judge disagreed, and he allowed for them to be in the court proceedings under legal exceptions for dying declarations. That ruling would later become a major issue in appeals, but for right now and for the trial, it meant that Cherica's own voice, recorded in fear, spoken through pain, would become a witness against the man who orchestrated this.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? It's obviously a constitutional right that if you are charged with a crime, you have the right to question your accuser. In this situation, they can't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with this decision. I mean, if she, there's a couple of things I would want to ask, but I could ask doctors, like, was she drugged to a point where she could be speaking coherently? Was she fully mentally, well enough, despite her injuries and possible medications that she's on, to actually speak and know what she's talking about? And if the answers to those are yes, she was in sound mind, why not be able to listen to what she has to say to detectives and what she wrote down? Because those are very important. And I understand, his counsel and his attorneys wanting to be able to cross-examine somebody, but if they're dead, but they made all these statements before their death, I very much believe those should be allowed. Am I wrong?
No, I completely on board. I think this is 100% the right decision. And I think, here's the thing. It's also not the only piece of evidence. It's not like you or I could be on our deathbed, say something, and then that be held as gospel in the court of law. It's corroborated by other things. And it is so powerful, but it's also so important. The reason he can't cross-examine the witness is because he killed her. Yeah. And I realize that that's kind of talking in a circle because he wasn't convicted yet. But I am fully on board with this decision. The trial started in October of 2000, and it lasted around 3 months. And I think back to the OJ trial, to the Menendez trial. Those were the big ones when I was growing up. And then we got into Casey Anthony and those things. And I felt like those things lingered. A lot of the cases we cover, though, it's like a week or just a few days.
I'm looking at this and just surprised how quickly it even went to trial. I mean, it's just a year.
Yeah. He definitely got his right to a speedy trial. It did last 3 months, and it was a tightly watched spectacle. One moment that drew national attention was when the judge prohibited cameras from showing certain witnesses, including a young neighbor who had heard gunshots and alerted police. But the star witnesses were Watkins, who we discussed earlier, and the medical staff that treated Cherica. Again, judges have the discretion about their courtroom. I think most of the time, if it's a criminal trial where the state or the federal government's pressing charges, it should be open to the public and streamed. But I also agree with protecting the identity of a minor. So kind of see both sides of that one. In his testimony, Watkins was direct, forceful, and sometimes angry. Like we said earlier, he was known to be violent, made people feel uneasy, and he didn't tamper any of that down for his time on the stand. He testified that Carruth had put all this together. He laid out a payment plan, a payment agreement. He gave the jury a full timeline, the planning, how they were going to get her to pull over, the positioning of the vehicles that would lead up to the shooting. The defense argued that Watkins was lying, that the shooting was part of a drug deal gone wrong. She was an innocent bystander, and that Carruth was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. In addition to Watkins' testimony, the prosecution also used, again, Cherica's 911 call and her handwritten notes, and also cell phone records to show where people were and the communication between Carruth and Watkins and other conspirators.
This has to be some of the earliest cell phone records in courts because, not a lot of people had cell phones at this time.
Yeah, and just think about if she didn't. She never would have made the call. And then, obviously, horrifically, she didn't live anyway, but we may not have gotten this conviction, may not have gotten justice here if she hadn't had an early cell phone.
You're absolutely right.
So together, all of this evidence painted a pretty clear picture of what happened, at least to the jury. Again, her testimony via the 911 call, via her handwritten notes were not the only things there. It was corroborated by other witnesses, by forensics. So I don't want it to seem like she got her ex convicted of murder by the words on her deathbed, because that's not what happened.
Yep. So on January 19th, 2001, the verdicts were in. So Carruth was found not guilty of first-degree murder, but he was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, guilty of shooting into an occupied vehicle, and guilty of using an instrument to destroy an unborn child. He was sentenced to 18 to 24 years in prison. Now, his co-conspirators received an even harsher penalty, with Watkins getting 40 years, so, which I think is great. I feel like he was probably the one that fired the shot that killed her.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's why I think he took this deal to get a life sentence or the death penalty off the table, because obviously this was planned out. This is a first-degree murder. I find it interesting that Carruth was found not guilty of first-degree murder because they don't think he's the one that fired the shots, but he was also found guilty of shooting into an occupied vehicle because he ordered somebody to, paid somebody to. It's just I don't know how the laws are written, but it's just confusing using the titles of the charges.
I don't know how I feel about his sentence, 18 to 24 years in prison. He orchestrated all of this. So whether he was the one who pulled the trigger or not, the trigger would not have been pulled if it wasn't for him orchestrating and paying for this to happen. So I feel like, I said I don't know how I feel. I guess I do know how I feel. This would not have happened without him. So he should be behind bars for just as long as Watkins, in my mind.
I completely agree, if not longer. Because yes, Watkins is the one that fired the shots, but when we're talking about culpability, you're right. None of it would have happened without Carruth. So who does that fall back on? And he got 40 years, even taking a deal to testify against Carruth. So it's just kind of confusing to me the way that was done. I think they both should have gotten life sentences. That's where I would have landed. Carruth, of course, appealed his conviction, and his primary argument was that he could not cross-examine Cherica. The Fourth Circuit Court acknowledged these concerns, but noted that even without those statements, the remaining evidence was overwhelming, which I think is pretty common. Not only do you have to show that your rights were violated in an appeal, but you have to show that it made a difference.
Right.
Which it probably did make a difference, but still, there's so much more to this. In prison, he continued to waffle about about his role in her murder. Sometimes he would be interviewed and consulted and express remorse about what happened and how he shouldn't have done it. And then you talk to him a week later and he was denying responsibility at all. So never really came clean and clear with it. But as time went on, he actually apologized through letters to Cherica's family, particularly her mother, Sandra, who had become the full-time caregiver for his son. Carruth claimed that he wanted to be in Chancellor's life while in prison and when he got out, though Sandra maintained boundaries to protect her grandson. And John, I feel like you see this, I mean, not this exact scenario, but parents who were denied access to their kids for a variety of reasons. In this situation, what are his rights? He was found guilty of killing her mother. Does he have a right to see the kid?
You know, it's interesting, man. Like in Kentucky, being in prison does not automatically terminate the parental rights. So when we have a parent who's in prison and they can't like work a case plan, then there has to be some time given for the individual to show that they, you know, whether or not their parental rights should be removed. So I don't know that his parental rights were removed. It wouldn't have surprised me one way or the other, honestly, with him being in jail for the child's, you know, entire minor life. They might not have, but we don't know. But regardless of the legal rights that he may or may not have, you know, in the hearts and minds of all those involved, he's still the father, right? So, but Sandra, who was the full-time caregiver, probably had custody of this child. She had the right to say whether or not he could be a part of this kid's life.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Obviously, it's hard to tell how much that he was rehabilitated or...
Oh, I tell you what I would do.
Okay.
That would be to never let him see the kid.
There you go.
I mean, and I would also, if there was any money in the bank left over from the Panthers, that's the child's.
Yes. So, no, I completely agree with that. Just interesting that I didn't think you would lean that hard on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess this one's
No, don't be sorry. That's I want your honest opinion. I really don't know where I stand because I want to believe that people can be rehabilitated and redeemed and have a second chance. But what he did, I mean, it's as close to unforgivable as you can get.
To be clear, his problem wasn't necessarily with the baby's mother. He was upset that she was going to have this child. So this was all an effort to kill the child. So you are not going to see this kid no matter how bad you want to after all that.
Excellent point.
So he served 19 years. He worked in prison. He had the prison jobs, you know. He spent his time reading. He did interviews near his release date. And he said that he regretted everything but stopped short of admitting that he planned this murder. Many saw the statements as attempts at reputation repair rather than that of a genuine acceptance of guilt. But one constant remained through those years, and that was the resilience of the Adams family. On October 22nd, 2018, Rae Carruth walked out of prison a free man. He gave a brief statement thanking supporters and mentioning his son, Chancellor. The real story in this case really is Chancellor. I mean, he was proved guilty of, what was the charge? Like guilty of using an instrument to destroy an unborn child.
Yeah, it's pretty strong language.
Makes you think that this child, was also killed, but no. This child lived a rough life. So the baby was born using the emergency C-section, but did survive, but had a lack of oxygen during the shooting, which resulted in permanent brain damage that caused cerebral palsy. So he would never walk, speak. It was just, a really hard life. Yet by all accounts, Chancellor had become a symbol of grace and strength. His grandmother, Sandra, who raised him, loved this kid and loved his determination. She brought him to Panthers games and she shared his artwork. She turned her grief into purpose and she publicly forgave Rae Carruth. Man, if I am a grandfather and this situation happens, I think I might be able to enjoy the kid, yet have the sorrow in my heart, but to publicly forgive, I know that is the right thing to do. But to say it and to mean it, I don't know that I could,
Yeah, I agree. And
I know that I need to.
There are so many examples of people doing that. And my admiration is through the roof for those people because I really don't think I could. Even after the drama of the trial was over, the conversations around this case and the difficult realities of it continued to come up. How should fame distort our moral compass, or how can it? And how should that be considered in moments like this? What role does domestic violence play in the lives of professional athletes? And we had that continues to come up. I think it was Ray Rice who some video emerged of some awful things that he was doing. And then how do we handle crimes when there's a victim left behind, like this child, or the words of a victim left behind and used as evidence? So there are a lot of legal questions, I think, that come up from this case, but I think the reality is pretty clear. He hired somebody to kill this woman so that the baby wouldn't be around. They killed Cherica. I shouldn't have said this woman. Her name is much more important than his. Cherica and Chancellor went on to live, and Carruth spent several years in prison.
And I feel like he should have spent more. I hope that his status of a football player and, the money that he had, even though he was, by all accounts, pretty much broke, I hope that didn't bear any weight in the sentence that he got. But overall, we ask often, is justice served? And honestly, for this case, I feel like he should have got at least what Watkins got. With them both serving 40 years, that's almost a life sentence at that point. I would have much rather seen that.
Yeah, I think they both should have gotten a life sentence. There's no question to me about that. And here's the thing. If Chancellor didn't make it, I bet they both would have. I bet if it was a double murder, they both would have. But because the child didn't die, which had nothing to do with their efforts, they got a lesser sentence. Watkins got a 40-year sentence. It's been almost 26 years. And I would say if he had not passed away, actually right at 2 years ago at this point, then I'd say he'd be close to getting out on good behavior after less than 30 years on a 40-year sentence. So I can't imagine that. Can you imagine Sandra and the rest of the Adams family seeing Carruth out walking about, knowing what he did to Cherica and Chancellor? It's life without parole, no questions asked, no justice here. Hopefully they save some lives by having these guys off the streets for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, something similar happened in the town that I grew up in, where people were murdered, and instead of getting life in prison, they got 20 years and, some kind of probation afterwards or something like that. But yeah, the community had to see the ones that were convicted of murder. And I was really surprised that they didn't end up murdered themselves when they got out. So no, my heart breaks for this family. And I would absolutely be livid to walk around and see him out after taking my precious daughter away.
Yeah, this is a rough one. I definitely prefer the cases where either nobody dies or we have some kind of justice. And sure, he was caught and put behind bars, but certainly not enough for my liking after doing this for 8 years. I guess at this point, a life sentence is all that would dictate justice to me. But we appreciate you guys listening along. This was a big deal in the late 90s. I know we have a lot of listeners much younger than us, and we also have a lot of witnessers that aren't NFL fans. So maybe this one didn't get on your radar. So hopefully it was a news story for you, and hopefully we don't have any more athletes or anybody to bring up. Maybe we can just tell stories that happened before 2026 because everybody was nice starting then.
Yep. Well, if the world ends, we'll let you know. Probably. If we don't make the rapture.
Well, that's the only way. Guys, we really appreciate you. Got a Patreon episode coming up here next week. So if you've ever been interested in Patreon, that'll be our 12th episode of the year. So at this point, we're almost at 100 Patreon episodes.
Yeah. Hey, guys, have a great Thanksgiving. Eat some turkey for us. And until next crime, this has been True Crimecast.
You've listened to True Crimecast, distributed by Stoveleg Media. Check out stoveleg.com to find out more about your hosts and to find other podcasts to listen to. Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.